The narrative from Helldivers 2, specifically Arrowhead Game Studios and their community managers, is significantly changing. Now they are claiming that players that are locked out of getting a PlayStation Network due to PlayStation Network not being in their country will be allowed to continue to play the game. There's more to this as well. But before we get to it, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. This is over at thatparkplace.com. And Helldivers 2 community manager Spitz claims the game will no longer require players to link a PlayStation Network account to their Steam account in countries where PlayStation Network is not available. So just to get you caught up on all of this, Sony announced earlier this month that Helldivers 2 players would be required to link Helldivers 2 players on Steam would be required to link their PlayStation Network account to their Steam accounts in order to play the game beginning on June 4th. This is what it says here. Due to technical issues at the launch of Helldivers 2, we allowed the linking requirements for Steam accounts to a PlayStation Network account to be temporarily optional. That grace period will now expire. It goes on to say account linking plays a critical role in protecting our players and upholding the values of safety and security provided on PlayStation and PlayStation Studios games. I'm not sure if that's entirely accurate given the fact that Sony has been hacked so many times. This is our main way to protect players from griefing and abuse by enabling the banning of players that engage in that type of behavior. It also allows those players that have been banned the right to appeal. As such, as of May 6th, all new Helldivers 2 players on Steam will be required to connect their Steam account to a PlayStation Network account. Current players on Steam will start to see the mandatory login from May 30th and will be required to have linked a Steam and PlayStation Network account by June 4th. So that is the statement from Sony. This was published to the official Helldivers 2 forums on Steam. One of the complaints lodged against the announcement was the fact that PlayStation Network is not available in all countries across the world. When I looked at Sony's website, it looked like there's about 73 countries that it is in. That leaves over 100 that it's not in. And so we had this person here, Deka Namakan, said, let me start by saying, I know it's not you guys, but Sony who is holding the metaphorical gun here, but some countries that have your players literally cannot make PlayStation Network accounts because Sony does not recognize them on PlayStation Network. What's going to happen to those players? And CEO of Arrowhead Game Studios of Helldivers 2, Johan Pilestedt, he said this, we are discussing that question with our partners at PlayStation and trying to find a solution. Now, one of the game's community managers, Spitz, claims players in countries where PlayStation Network is not available will not need to link a PlayStation Network account in order to play. So he posted this first. He kind of apologized for his flippant remarks regarding players' complaints about linking their accounts to PlayStation Network, which is well documented. I'm not going to cover it in this video, but I've covered it in other videos. It's on the website as well. You can check it out. But he said this. Yeah, I was completely unaware how many countries didn't have the ability to make a PlayStation Network account. When I made that statement, I deeply regret implying that it was so easy for everyone to just sign up and not have to worry about it. It's absolutely not our intention to force people to break Sony terms of service or just not play the game if they're in a restricted region. There needs to be a better solution. So kind of a little bit of an apology there. He says, I deeply regret. He doesn't actually say he's sorry, but he does indicate that his actions were wrong by saying he regrets them, but did not apologize. Well, I will make that clear, but does recognize what he did was wrong. There is a difference, though. There's a difference between recognizing what you did what was wrong and apologizing, and he does not apologize. But we got this in a follow-up post. So clearly this is already a change, right? He's regretting what he's did is wrong. They're talking about trying to find a solution as to a lot of these gamers that don't even play in countries where PlayStation Network or they don't play in countries with, they play in countries where PlayStation Network is not available. So clearly there is a massive problem there and something that they didn't think about when they announced this rollout. Like if you were going to do this, you think this would be something you would have known about. Nevertheless, in a follow-up post, Spitz wrote this. If a better solution isn't provided for players who are in regions without PlayStation Network coverage, I'm assured that we won't be making the requirement mandatory for those players. We're not going to force people to either break Sony terms of service or not play the game. So we're already seeing a narrative shift here that players that are in countries that do not have PlayStation Network access or PlayStation Network is not available in, they're getting a carve out. They will not have to link their account if another solution is not provided. So I think that is a huge, huge admission that they don't even need this PlayStation Network linking. If you're going to give a giant carve out to people that play in countries that don't have access to PlayStation Network, why then are people that do live in countries that have PlayStation Network access required to participate in this account linking? Makes one think that something else is going on here. So as I said, he obviously he noted that he regretted his statement, and he also previously disparaged gamers, was kind of mocking them and claiming that negative feedback did not matter. He now indicates that players should continue to provide negative feedback so they can use it in discussions with Sony. This is what Spitz wrote. Players making their displeasure known through reviews, refunds, etc. give us more pull in the discussions with Sony. They don't read our Discord. It hurts to see the game's popularity suffer in ratings, but discussions are ongoing and our team is on the side of the players in this fight. It's unrealistic to expect people to make PlayStation Network accounts in different regions to get past the account linking requirement. We're aware of that. Discussions are ongoing. So obviously one of the solutions was basically create a VPN to work around the regional blocking of PlayStation Network, right? So I do want to point out that this guy did say before that negative feedback would not matter at all, and that's what he posted. He posted this. He said this on the Helldivers 2 Discord. Feedback is always listened to. Most of it is passed on, and most of what is passed on is considered and goes into what changes we make. When it comes to a requirement from Sony that has existed since pre-launch, I don't think feedback is going to change much. So that was the original narrative. Feedback doesn't matter. They were kind of mocking gamers, deriding them, and we're seeing a clear change in narrative here. It's like, yes, please share all of your negative feedback, downvote the game, ask for refunds. This allows us to come to Sony and be like, what we're doing is wrong here. This is significantly hurting the game. And I'm wondering, maybe this is a question for Valiant Renegade, is if there is a fiduciary duty that Sony has to not allow the PlayStation Network linking because it is significantly harming the company's finances, because they are driving away what looks to be lots and lots of customers, potentially tens of thousands of customers. And I'm not exaggerating here. You look at the player base on SteamDB, peak concurrent players today. When I looked at this, this was I'm recording this video on Saturday evening, but it will go up on Sunday. Peak concurrent players on Saturday was only reached 115,130 players. That was down from May 3rd, which had 119,027 players. So that is a 4,000 decline in peak concurrent players. May 2nd saw 119,571 peak concurrent. So we only really saw about a 500 decline there from May 2nd to May 3rd, but 4,000 decline from the 3rd to the 4th. Who knows what it will decline tomorrow, Sunday. So not only are we seeing peak concurrent declines, and you can see the trend here. It's been going down probably since middle of February. There have been some peaks here kind of in the middle of March and at the beginning of April, but you can see the trend is kind of consistently going down right here from middle of February there. What was that, like February 19th, it looks like. So not only are we seeing player base decline, but we're seeing massive negative reviews for this game. So on May 3rd, the game received 62,477 negative reviews, according to SteamDB. It only received 252 positive reviews. And then today, it's probably gone up even more now. It might actually be over 100,000. On just today, Saturday, May 4th, it received 94,055 negative reviews. So compare that. The game has received almost as many negative reviews as it had peak concurrent players. I mean, we're looking at 115,000 peak concurrent players on Saturday, May 4th, And we're seeing Saturday, May 4th had 94,000 negative reviews. Remember, Saturday's not even over. So for me, at least, when you're watching this, that's probably over. It probably did go over 100,000, might be close to that peak concurrent of 115 there. So people are expressing their negative opinion. They are indeed giving the game negative reviews. I've seen reports of numerous people saying that they're asking for refunds. They have uninstalled the game. They're no longer playing. They've moved on to something else. And this is all because Sony is now requiring something that they were not requiring previously, which is a PlayStation Network account to be linked to a Steam account. But I do think that the biggest thing here is this: there is a significant narrative shift happening with this community manager Spitz. He went from saying negative feedback didn't matter. He went from mocking and deriding gamers to now he's like, please share your negative feedback. And I regret saying what I did. That's wrong. We're on the player's side. And we want this negative feedback to use to bring to Sony to try and say, hey, you're putting us in a pickle. You're driving our player base away. We're losing money now. And they're also saying here, I think this might be even the bigger point, is that they are saying that there will be a carve out for people that don't, or excuse me, for people that live in countries where PlayStation Network is not available. And if you can create a carve out for them, you can create a carve out for people that live in the countries where PlayStation Network is available. In fact, you can completely just say, hey, we made a mistake. We realized that the community does not want this. We will no longer be mandating this, and you can continue to play the game as is. And then, I don't know, maybe offer some kind of free in-game gift to apologize to people and let them know that you made a mistake and you will learn from this mistake. But it is interesting that the narrative shift is happening here. We'll see how it rolls out, but we are definitely seeing Arrowhead Game Studios has shifted their narrative, and it looks like they are definitely putting the onus now on Sony rather than trying to have the focus of gamers on them. They are directing that focus on Sony now as well. So it does indeed look like a lot of this is in Sony's ballpark now on what they are going to do, because we're seeing Arrowhead, their community managers are kind of pointing at Sony now for all of these problems. And like I said, is there a fiduciary duty here that Sony is neglecting by requiring this PlayStation Network linking and significantly harming Helldivers 2 and its player base and its revenue? But let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable to each other, but to always speak the truth.